Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a Java tutorial series. So in this series I'm going to teach you the basics of Java and we're going to get to create some awesome applications. So if you're new to Java and know nothing about Java, this is the place for you. So we're going to get started from zero, from scratch, assuming you know nothing. So the first question is, what is Java? So Java is a programming language, and of course a programming language is how we give instructions to a computer. Okay, but computers, the only instructions they know are zeros and ones, which is known as machine code. But of course, human beings, we are not good at typing machine code. So instead, we type in a language, for example, Java, which is more human readable. And then the computer has to translate that language into what it can understand so it can actually run the program. So Java is one of those languages that allows you to put what's on your mind into a computer. So a bit of history with Java is that Java was created in 1999 by this company here, Sun Microsystems. Now, the point of creating Java was this tagline they had, which is write once, run anywhere. So at the time, there were several types of computers. There were Macs, there was Linux or Linux, and there was Windows. So now, in order to create an application that would run on all these systems, you had to actually create 3 separate apps. But this guy had a brilliant idea to say, what if I can just write one piece of code and let it run on all 3 machine types here? So either on Mac, Linux, or Windows. And this is how Java was born. So how exactly does Java achieve this? This is the important bit. So because Mac is very different, the architecture is very different from Linux and Windows. So for one program to run on these, it must sit on what is known as a virtual machine. So I'm going to explain that in a moment. But first, let's see what kind of applications we can make, you can expect to create with Java. So once you learn Java, you can make Android applications. You can also make desktop applications that can run in Macintosh, Windows, or Linux, of course. And then you can also make web applications. So we will learn the basics, then we can branch off into these very specific fields here. So the basics will be covered that can work for any of these. But then after that, we're going to start creating very specific applications. We'll starting with desktop applications, and then we can move to web and then Android apps. Okay, so Java in terms of levels is kind of middle ground because you have languages, you have other computer languages like maybe C or C++. These are low-level languages. So C or C++ are called low-level, and the reason they are called low-level is because they work very close to the machine level. What this means is that if you write a program in C, for example, remember that C is not really a language that a computer can understand, because still in C you have to write functions and all that, which literally mean nothing to a computer. A computer just knows zeros, ones, and so on. So if I write a function like this in language C, there's what is known as a compiler that is going to convert this human readable code, which is also known as the source code. So what you type as a programmer is known as the source code. So what happens is there's a compiler that is going to compile that into what is known as machine code. So those zeros and ones. So you write your program, then it's compiled into machine code so the computer can run it. This is the basics of C and C++, or even what is this? What do they call it? Assembly code as well. So the thing is, this is low level, and then there are higher level languages like PHP, for example. So with PHP, it doesn't even need a compiler at all. So you type PHP code and then it's interpreted in real time as it is running. So there's no, it's compiled in real time actually. That's what happens to machine code in real time. So that is interpreted language, and that is called a high level language. It's high level because it's very high from the machine level there. There's so much in between PHP and the actual computer. That's why it's high level. But Java is kind of middle level, and the reason is this. You see, when you write source code in Java, it's compiled, but it's not compiled to machine code. It's compiled to what is known as bytecode. So bytecode is just an efficient version of your source code, a more machine efficient version of your source code. Then there's what is called a Java virtual machine that is going to run that bytecode and convert it to machine code in real time. So still, that's why Java is not as fast as C or C++, because C is directly already machine code by the time you're running it. This process here is not needed. So there's no time lost here. But Java, because it has to go through the bytecode and JVM, that's why it's a bit slower than C and can never be as fast as C. Now you may be asking, so why put this section here? Why does it have this extra stuff? Now the reason is that there's this thing called the Java VM, the virtual machine. Now what this does is, remember that I had mentioned earlier that a Java software will run in Mac, Linux, and Windows. Now the way it achieves this is by having a virtual machine that will ask the question, what system are we on? And then it would do a direct translation into something. Let's say you write code that says, open the file browser, for example. If the user wants to open a file browser and browse for files on the computer. Now the file browser in Mac looks very different from Linux and Windows. So what the virtual machine will do is it will understand which system it's on and then know exactly how to translate that language into something that a Mac can understand, or Linux or Windows in real time. So this is why the virtual machine is needed, so that you can do that. Now, these days it's actually, even then, it's possible to get this bytecode. So the virtual machine understands bytecode here. So it runs with bytecode and then converts that to actual machine code in real time. Now it's possible to grab this bytecode and convert it to machine code directly into an executable file, which will make your program very much faster, because now it's in machine language as a Java. You can export it as a Windows or Mac specific application. Now the downside to that is you remove this versatility of running that same program on a Mac, Linux, or Windows. But it's still good, because at the end of the day you wrote your code once and then compiled it specifically for a Mac, a Linux version, and a Windows version. So still, even then, Java is very useful in that. So this is a multi-purpose language to learn. So there's no downside to learning Java, even now, so many years after it was created. So an image to illustrate this virtual machine could look something like this. So this is what I just got on Google by just typing Java bytecode. So you see your program is here as the source code, and then it is compiled once you finish typing. So you finish typing your code, you compile it into bytecode. Then this bytecode, you can run it on any system, Mac, Linux, or Windows, as long as there is a virtual machine there. So this is very important. You have to install that virtual machine on that system where you want to run the program. So without this JVM, it won't run, because this is what changes the bytecode into machine code. Now, like I said earlier, after you finish your program, you could just export your program to a Windows specific system by converting it to machine code. So you can have 3 separate programs. You convert one for Windows, convert one for Mac, convert one for Linux, and then now they are in machine code, so they can run even faster. So those are options. Or you can leave it as bytecode and then you run using the JVM. So of course, since this JVM should be there, we need to install this JVM on any system we want to run Java bytecode. So this is where we come to the next step now of doing some actual installations. So if we go to, let's go here, the Java development kit, right? So just go on Google and type Java JDK. So the JDK means Java development kit. So you download that, go to the Oracle website here, there's Java JDK for developers, and it will bring you to this window. Then you just choose the archive you want. First of all, find the system you're on. I'm on Windows, so I'm going to click on that, and then I'll look for my installer. It's better you get this one with an MSI installer, and grab that. Mine is 64-bit version, so it's up to you. Choose your system there, download. So this is the JDK. So this is the current version now that I have, that I downloaded. I think, yeah, there we go. So you can download an earlier version as well, but I got this one. So this is the development kit. Now the development kit comes with files that are already created for Java, so that once you type some things, you don't have to type everything from zero as if you started from scratch. This JDK comes with classes that you can use to do things. We're going to see that in action. So once you download this, you're going to have a zip file or something, an installer. So let me see where I put those. So I created a folder on my computer in drive, one of these drives. Mine is called drive H here. I don't even know why it's that far back. So drive H here, or H. Here's the JDK 19 that I got, Windows 64. It should be a bin file, so you see _bin.exe. Okay, great. Now once I have that, that's good. Do the installation here. Just run with whatever is there. Just click next, and do the installation. So no big deal there. Let me try and open it for a second just so we can see something. There we go. Do you want to allow the app? Of course. Let's allow that app to do its thing. The software is already installed. Would you like to reinstall it? No. Okay, so that was a bummer. But now that we have the development kit, we also need the Java runtime environment. So this is what will actually run the Java program, and that's the virtual machine, the JRE. So you need to download this as well. So you can do a search for just say Java download, and of course it's going to give you the Java runtime environment. Now, if you're exporting a Java program and giving it to a client, for example, you're done with your coding and you want to give a client to work with, for as long as they're in Java format, those files you get, you need the Java runtime environment on the client's computer. So this is what we are downloading now, the JRE. So the JDK is to help you as a developer to create Java programs. And the JRE, which is the Java runtime environment, is to enable you to run Java programs on any computer, that either Mac, Linux, or Windows, so that it doesn't matter what machine you have, it will still run. So here, there's this link here, java.com downloads. You can just click the link here in Google search. So go to I'll get mine, which is Windows offline version, of course, so that I download the whole thing. I download that, and this is what I have over here in this folder. So I just created a folder and put those. So install this one as well, the Java runtime environment. So I installed these two in my drive C, program files, Java. So you can see both are here. There's this JDK 19 and the JRE 1.8. So these two folders, important. So now what I do after this, I want my Windows to be able to find these folders. So what I'm going to do is that way, because we'll be using the command line quite a bit. So if I type cmd like so, this is our command line. If I type Java, so after you install, just type Java like this, or you can do --v. Okay, I think it should be capitalized V, right? Java capital V. Still, okay. I actually have never done this before. Okay, so just type Java, maybe -help like that, and it's gonna bring you this list. So maybe it can show me how to get the version that I want. So the help menu will show you what you can do once you type the word Java. After that, so it's actually the word version there. Okay, so let me clear the screen. CLS for Windows. So I'm going to type again Java. Now, if you don't see any of these things that I'm doing, in fact, if you just type Java like this, you should see something that resembles this, then you know that you've installed Java correctly. If you see something like unrecognized, for example, if I just type some gibberish, and you see something like this, unrecognized command, then Java is not properly installed. Now, to cement this so that it can always find the Java JDK and JRE, we'll put these in the system environment variables. Now, I don't know how to do this in Mac or Linux. I've never used those two systems. I only know Windows. So we'll do this in Windows. You can Google how to do that in the other systems, or I don't even know if you even need to do that in Mac or Linux. Probably not. So here I'm just going to type set environment variables. In fact, let me just type environment variables. Just type env like that, and this comes up. Now, if you want to manually find this, just right click on your PC and click properties. And when this comes up, you can just go to advanced system settings and it brings you back here. So you click on environment variables. And then let's go to where it says path over here. So make sure these are system variables, right? You go to path and then click edit. And then here you can add. So as you can see, I already added the path to my JDK 19 and the path to my JRE, which is this folder right here plus each specific folder. So add both folders here by just clicking new and copy the link in there and paste it there and just hit OK. So once you do that, that is great. We are ready to start coding. Yes, the reason we are here. Now, in terms of coding, I want us to start from scratch. Now, mostly you're going to be using what is known as an IDE So this one stands for Integrated Development Environment. So this just means a text editor. That's really what it means. Just the editor you're going to use to create your code. That's all. The reason it's named like this instead of just a text editor is because text editors these days have become quite complex because they give you suggestions and stuff. So if I type some text like set and then I put dot something in a proper IDE, it's going to bring you a lot of suggestions. That way it's easier to find what you want. But we're not going to use an IDE for now because I want you to understand the very basics of Java. Then we can move to an IDE which you're going to appreciate even more. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to start from the very scratch and we're going to use good old Notepad here in Windows, right? I want us to start from here. No complicated stuff, just right there. Now, a few things to remember is that we're going to be using the command line quite a bit. So better get used to seeing this black screen. I know many people like to see user interfaces, but Java is better learned like this, like in the good old days, the way we used to learn C++ and so on. So in here, of course, you saw if I type the word Java, then something will happen. Now, the reason this happens is because when I type the word Java, Windows looks for a program named Java in the computer. Now, because we added it to the system variables there, it will look for any program that matches that one of those folders. It will search in those folders for this program. It will search in Windows, in the System32, then it's going to search in those paths that we added to the system variables. And if it finds any program named java.exe like this, then it's going to run that program, which is this right here. So the Java program is how we access the Java virtual machine. So if I want to run a program in the virtual machine, I'm going to call it by saying Java, and then I leave a space and put my program name. So we're going to create a program called Hello World, as the tradition is, like that. And if I do this, it's going to try and search for a file named Hello World and run it in the Java virtual machine. So if I press enter right now, so it's gonna say it could not find or load the main class, which is just saying it just couldn't find this file anywhere. So let's CLS. And then the second command you're going to need to be familiar with is javac. Now javac is just another program as well, which is javac.exe. Oops. Now this is the Java compiler. That's what it stands for. So these two programs are important. Java is for running your Java program. Javac is for compiling the Java program. Because remember, like I said previously, we always need to compile our program to change it from source code to bytecode before we can try to run it in the virtual machine. Okay, great. Now, if you are Snoopy, you want to snoop around, you can go in the JRE and in the bin here, and this is the Java runtime environment. And if you look closely, you will find this program called java.exe. That's where it's coming from every time I type Java there. And if you look even closer, you will see the Java, where is the Javac? Wait. Oh, the compiler comes with the development kit. So it's going to be in the JDK, of course, in the bin. Bin is shortcut for binaries. So usually that's where the binaries are, the executable files, right? So you see there's Javac there, the Java compiler.exe. So every time I type Javac, it's looking in here to run this program. Okay, so keep that in mind. Also, the JDK does come with java.exe, so you can run your file. So you can actually develop without downloading the JRE here. You can just use the JDK, no problem. But it's just good to have the JRE because you need it when you are exporting to your client. You're going to need to install this JRE on your client's computer who's going to run your Java program. All right, so enough theory. Let's begin some actual coding. Yes. So we know what this does. If I try enter now, it's going to show me, okay, you haven't done something right. And then this is the help you get, and it shows you what you can do with Javac over here. So let's clean that out and begin. So now I want us to start from scratch, like I said. So we're going to use good old Notepad here. And if you notice here, I created a folder inside, where is this? Called Java. I think I used the same one. So what I'm going to do is in my H drive here, I created a folder called Java Projects. So create a Java Projects folder anywhere on your computer, does not matter where that is. So there it is. Not good that this is where my JDK and stuff is. Now, once you finish installing these two, You can delete these. You don't really need them anymore once you install them. That's the only reason they're there. So I'm gonna hide them. I'm gonna just type JDK so we don't see them anymore. We don't need these two babies. I'll move. Oh no, 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 do not do that. Move in there. Okay, so there we are. Now I want us to start a new project. So let's create a new folder here. We're gonna call our project Hello World. Now it's good convention to start with a capitalized letter for your classes. So we're gonna follow that by putting a capital H. Now you could put a capital W here if it's another word, but too many typings there. So I'm just gonna leave it as Hello World, small letters, just one capitalized like that. So this is our source folder right there. Goody. So we're going to create our first Java program. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is that Java is an object-oriented programming language, right? It's object-oriented. Now, if you don't have history with OOP, that's object-oriented programming, that might not mean much to you, but for now, just know that OOP means we have to use classes to type our code. So unlike PHP, where if I'm in PHP, this is Notepad, by the way. Let me enlarge the text. If I'm in PHP, I can do something like var is equal to 10, and then echo var, like that. Oh, sorry. This is valid PHP code, and it can actually run without a problem here. Nothing wrong with this, because PHP is a procedural language. It's not really OOP. You can type in OOP, but that's not its base. But Java, this is forbidden in Java. The way to do things is to write a class. So we're going to write a class first of all. So let's call this class, let's imagine we have a class called. Now you may be asking, what is a class anyway? For now, just ignore that. I'm going to explain a bit later. For now, just think of a class as a container that holds stuff. So we're going to type something like public class hello world, like this. So public, don't mind this. Just look at that. Actually, you can just write class and then hello world. So what this has done is it's created a container which we are calling hello world. Now you can call this container anything you like. It doesn't matter. The only thing you have to keep in mind is whatever you call this class should also be the file name here, exactly like the class name that is required. So hello world. Then we put an opening and closing bracket like that. So whatever we put in here is contained within this container or a class called hello world. So let's separate these two so we can type some more text in here. Now keep in mind that in Java, white space is ignored. So doing this, having no space like this or having 100 spaces like this is exactly the same with the program, because the compiler is going to delete all this white space anyway. It won't even it won't use it. So you can do this and it doesn't matter. All right, so if I hit the tab key, I move a bit inward just so I can start typing from there to show that this content is contained within this space. Now a class is supposed to have what is known as a method or a function. So it's a function, but because it's inside a class, it's called a method. So that's the difference between a method and a class. So if those words don't mean anything, it's okay. I'll explain them a bit better. So usually in other programming languages, you make something like this that looks like a function. So for as long as it's not within a class, it's called a function. The moment the same function is put in here, it now changes to being called a method. And I'll explain why it's called a method in a future video. But for now, let's just imagine this is how we're supposed to do things, right? So here, I'm going to say public static void main, like that. Okay, so let me move this open and close bracket as well. So you see, this is another container of this function here. Now, for now, ignore this and that, but this is important. So you just have to type it exactly as it is. So this part called main is important. Your class must have a main class, a main method. If this is the initial class, this is the class that we run first when running our program, it must have this main method. That's because Java will look for this main method to know where to start running the program from. So this main just means we are starting to run our program from in here. Okay, great. Now in here, you have to type string like this, capital S, and then put 2 square brackets like this, and then write space and put args like so. Okay, and close bracket. So you have to do it exactly like this. Okay, I will of course explain later what all this means, and by the time we are done, all this will make a lot of sense to you. And then we just want to print the word, the text hello world. Now to do that, we're going to invoke another class that comes with Java called system, like this. Now, system has a method within it. Now, to access that method or a variable, so there are 2 things that you can put in a class. There's a method, which is this function like, and also there's what is called a property, which is just like a storage space, a variable. So system, which comes with Java, the development kit, the JDK, dot out. So once I do this, I'm just saying within system is just a class, just like this one you see here. It's another class that was created by the people that created Java. So it comes with Java. So the moment you type system, it will look for that particular file. And then inside system, there's a variable, something that stores information. That's a variable. And then to access that thing within system, we use the dot notation. So we're going to say system.out dot. Now, out itself has other properties within it, and one of them is called print line. Now it's print. Actually, we just need print for now. Let's just use print and then open, close parentheses, and then put a semicolon like that. Now in Java, a semicolon is used to tell the computer that this is the end of the line. Because remember, if I just type another, I'll just use some PHP here. This is not Java code. So I'm just trying to illustrate a point here. If I type something like hello world, like that, even if I put 10 spaces here, it doesn't matter because the compiler will delete all that space and it will look something like this when compiled. So this semicolon, without it, this will look like one sentence, one what do you call these? One line of code or one command. So if you put a semicolon like that, then it separates the two. So the computer will run this, wait a second for the result, and then run this one. That's how it knows one line from another. So let me delete this part here, like so. Okay, great. Now within these parentheses, we want to put a string, which is just like a sentence. So we put double quotes like that, 2 of them, and then we're gonna say hello world. Okay, so let's recap a little bit here what we are doing. We create a class. This class is a container. This is required. This class is called hello world. Now keep in mind that exactly this, we have to copy and name our file exactly like that. And then this, inside the class, there's a method, one method. You can have many methods in here. This is just one of them. And forget about these things here for now. The method is called main, and then it receives some arguments, which are in form of a string. So just type it as it is here. This will be explained later. And then here we're evoking another class that comes with Java called system. And then inside system, we're accessing a property called out. and then within out there is a function called print. Now the reason I know this is a property and this is a function is because this guy has brackets around it. So whenever you see brackets, then that's a function. So this is a function and it receives the text hello world. So what I'm telling it is that just print to the screen the text that is in here. So whatever text you put in here will be printed to the screen. Now our screen is going to be the command line, of course. So this is our first Java program. So I'm just going to save it in here in our project. So I'm going to save that. Let's see what happens. So we're going to go to our Java projects folder and inside hello world, and here I will paste. Now make sure you save this as all files here so that it doesn't add a file extension, so that we add it ourselves. Now every Java file is called a you put the extension .java at the end, so it's hello world.java. So small letters and save. So as you can see now we have a Java file in there. Now if you install the JDK properly, you're gonna see that it recognizes this. Let me increase the icon size here. It recognizes it as a Java file. So this is just a text file we created with our notepad here. Very cool. So now what I want to do is compile this file into bytecode. So let's see how that's done. So I'm going to select the path to this file. I'm just going to copy that so I can paste it in my command line. So let's navigate to that folder. So first of all, let's go to the drive H, which is the drive I'm using. If you're using drive C, you don't have to do this part. We're going to do /D and then H full colon. So now we are in drive H. So I'm going to do change directory CD and go to Java projects. That's my folder. So now we are inside this. Now in order, if I want to check what's inside Java projects, I can type dir. I think on Linux it's ls or something, I don't know. So dir, this tells you the volume, serial number, a lot of useless information, but the important part is, you see there's ... which means that's how you can go a folder above, and then there's this folder. It's a directory. We know it's a folder because it says dir hello world, and there's another directory called JDK. Okay, great. So let's go into this hello world directory by doing cd hello world, and we're in there. So let's check what's inside there again. So dir of that shows us hello world.java. Look at that, we have a Java file. So let's clean up cls. Now we are in a folder that we want. Now we want to compile that file. So I'm going to do javac like that, and then type the name of the file, hello world, like this. Don't forget the .java at the end like that, and then press enter like this. Now if you don't see any errors, it means everything went accordingly to plan. And if I do dir again like so, you'll see now there are two files. There is the Java file we created, and then there's a hello world.class file. Very nice. So the class file, the one with .class, is the bytecode. If I tried to open this, let me try and open a new notepad window, drag and drop that in here. Look at that, it just looks like gibberish, right? But this is bytecode. So you can change the encoding type here to see actual text if you wanted to, but just to show you that it's bytecode. If I were to open this in Sublime Text, for example, a different text editor, you would see the difference. Look how it looks in here. This just looks, these are hex values actually, are they? Yes, these are hexadecimal values. So it's being read in hex format, but that's fine. So back here to what I was talking about. Now we have a class file. Now this class file is bytecode, which means we can run it in the Java virtual machine. So how do we run it? Simple and straightforward. Let me do hello world. So we start with the word Java to evoke the Java virtual machine, and then we type hello world like that. Now in this case we don't need to type .class, it will figure it out. So let's just press enter at this point. And look at that, it says hello world. Yeah, very cool. Interesting. So this is how you make a Java program, as simple as that. So in here I can type this is my first Java program. Just don't forget to make sure it's within the curly braces like that. Save. Now if I save the file here and then try to run the program again this side, you will notice that it still says hello world. Now the reason is because the compiled version, oops, look what I just did. Oh no, I just closed the folder. Okay, still there in the recent, great. So the reason is that I've edited the Java file, which is the source code, but I have not edited the bytecode here. So it's reading from the bytecode. So I have to compile. So every time I make changes here, any change I make, I must compile it before I can run it. So it's a bit tougher than programs like PHP where you just type something, then run immediately, because those are not compiled programs. So we have to compile it. Once we make changes, we do Java C and then hello world dot Java. Press enter, and now we've compiled it, and then we can call it again using Java and then do hello world. Okay, now you can see this is my first Java program. CLS clear. Now if for some reason we made a mistake anywhere, so let me say I forgot maybe the T here, boom, of course it won't find this property in system, so it's gonna complain. But syntactically here everything looks fine until we get to that point, right? So let me save that. Let's try and compile it. Java C hello world dot Java. So observe what happens here. We have an error instead. Cannot find the symbol system.ou. So it gives you a caret here to show you that this is where the problem is. So when trying to find this, it couldn't find this symbol called OU, right? Great. So it tells you where that error is, right? Hello world.java, which is the file name, and then here it says 6, which is line 6. Now if you go here, though we don't have line numbers, we can see that this is line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then line 6. So on line 6, here is the problem. So let's fix that. We put our out, but let's try again a different version of the error. Let's not close that stuff there. Let's try to compile one more time. Like this. Boom. Another error. It says unclosed string literal. So it shows you right here there's an opening inverted comma, but no closing inverted comma over here. So it tells you what the error is, which is awesome. So let's save that and then compile for the last time. We know it's gonna work this time. And there we go. Then we can do again Java, run our program. And there we go. This is my first Java program. All right, so hopefully you've learned something, and it's this basic to make a Java program. You don't need anything special. For as long as you install the JDK, you are good to go. You can open any text editor that is a basic text editor and start typing away. You don't need a complex IDE or anything like that. This is good enough. You have your Java program. But of course, an IDE makes things easier, which we're going to use in the future. But for the first few tutorials, we're just going to use good old Notepad so that we get familiar with compiling our own program. And because the IDE will compile the program for you, it does that in the background. But I think it's important to understand what's going on. So that's why we are doing it like this for the first few tutorials. All right, guys, so I hope you've learned something new, and I will see you in the next tutorial.